Hi creative friends, this is Kathy from Easy Sunday Club. First, I wanted to thank you for your supportive and kind comments on our last live update video after we took a 2-month break from YouTube. Usually our videos have to do with practical business strategies, how-tos, sometimes processes and product recommendations. So it's nice to know that some of you care about what's going on behind the scenes of our business and life and found a lot of it relatable. We didn't expect that many people to watch it, let alone leaving thoughtful comments, so we really appreciate it. And if this is your first time finding our channel and you have no idea what I'm talking about, you can disregard what I said. Or if you're curious, you can watch the previous video here. We'll include a link in the description below. All right, let's get back to regular programming. So recently, I sent out a survey asking you what topics you would like to see in the near future, and wholesale was the topic that got one of the most votes. So I've been sitting on this topic for a while now and finally got around to outlining and finally recording it for you. I wanted to give a good overview on what wholesale is for artists to help you evaluate if this is something you want to pursue and to help demystify it a little bit and make it less intimidating, as it certainly was for me when I first started. I know your time is precious, so let's cut to the chase. Wholesale is when you sell your products in bulk to a retailer at a discount, usually 50%, and the retailer in turn resell the products at a regular retail price, the same price as you would selling online, to their customers. So for example, I sell each of my card for $5 on my website, but to a retailer, I would sell it for $2.50 each. Each time they will buy them in bulk, so 20 cards or more, for example, and they would make the profit from the difference of $2.50 to $5. Of course, they have their own costs that they need to absorb as well. If most of the time they own a brick and mortar store, so there's a ton of overhead that goes behind operating a business like that. Sometimes they have to hire staff and they have to do their own marketing. So I think it's a fair split between the maker and the retailer. What we're benefiting from besides the transaction itself is a partnership, but also the retailers help us expand our brand awareness to areas of our region, country, or even internationally that we otherwise can't achieve ourselves, right? Especially if you're not buying ads online, it's really difficult to reach customers from thousands of miles away. So that's the gist of it. There's another model that's similar to wholesale called consignment. It doesn't get talked about as much, and I think it's also a good way to get started if you haven't done any wholesale. That's actually how I got started and start dipping my toes in wholesale, but I will cover that at the end. If you already know a thing or two about wholesale or just getting started, the first thing I want you to do is to suspend all limiting beliefs about wholesale. Wholesale, for people who haven't done it, can sound really intimidating. At least for me, when I first started trying to position my work for wholesale, I thought that it meant paying for a super expensive booth at one of those large trade shows across the country, paying thousands of dollars in the process. Usually those booths alone cost thousands of dollars. And I also thought that I needed hundreds of SKUs in order to attract retailers, or that I have to hire agents who probably wouldn't give me time of the day in order to sell my work to stores. I wanted to tell you that I didn't do any of those things when I started, and even to this day I have never gone to one large trade show for wholesalers. The only show I've gone to is a very chill local wholesale trade show. It was like a fraction of the size of one of those big shows, and it's attached to a regular arts and craft fair, so we were already selling there. And I think to this day, I have 2 retailers that still order from me regularly from there. So again, just want you to know you don't have to do all of those things. Those things might accelerate your wholesale growth if that's something you definitely want to do, but it does take upfront investment. I also didn't have hundreds of SKUs. I do today for my wholesale catalog, but that's just the result of being in business for years and creating more and more new work. What worked for me and what I think will work for you is taking baby steps and start from where you are. But this video, I want to focus on the 3 things to help you prepare for wholesale to make sure that you're even ready for it. So let's get into that list. The first one and the most important factor is your profit margin, which affects everything in wholesale. Just because you're able to sell your cards right now at a profit online or at arts and craft fairs doesn't mean that your cards would be profitable for wholesale. So for example, if you're also selling your greeting cards at $5 each, you will be wholesaling at $2.50, but you need to know how much it costs to print the unit cost of each of your greeting card. We'll just do simple math, right? You have to include the cost of printing, the cardstock, the envelope, and the clear cellu sleeve that packages the card at the minimum. Sometimes people have product labels, so we'll just stop there. So if that costs, let's say $150 per card, and you're selling it to a retailer at $2.50 each, you're making a $1 profit on these wholesale transactions. So if a retail owner buys 50 cards from you, you would be making $50 at 50 cards. If that's something you're happy with, then yeah, sure, give it a try. But if you're not satisfied with that profit margin, because it does take time to also prepare 50 cards for shipment, then you may want to either increase your retail price of these cards or lower your costs. I would say for greeting cards, it's much easier to lower your cost than to increase the price, because unfortunately in the greeting card world, you just don't see a lot of greeting card sellers selling cards for $7, $8, right? Art prints is a category that I also wholesale in. The price are a lot more loose, subjective. So I can play with the wholesale price as well as my cost of making those art prints. But with cards, you're left with a tighter margin. So you really want to make sure that although you want to provide high quality cards, you really want to reduce the cost as much as possible. And that usually comes from being able to print yourself by paper at a lower cost, high quantity, or if you're using an outside printer, either finding a printer that can print for less, or you may have to order more cards at once. So the second factor to consider when you start wholesale is to make sure you have a cohesive product line. What does that mean? As creatives, I understand we all have different creative hobbies and interests. You may be painting and drawing in different mediums, and you're also making jewelry on the side, right? And that's totally fine. We want to embrace our creative outlets as much as our free time allow us. But when it comes to positioning yourself for wholesale, it is time to apply a little bit of discipline. The reason is you are trying to sell to another business owner who owns a brick and mortar store, right? They are taking a risk on someone who is new to their store and to their customer base. So you really want to position or present yourself in a way that will help them trust you and giving you a chance and to take you more seriously. Right, so it's completely fine if you're an illustrator and a candle maker to continue selling candles on your online store, as long as when you're approaching a retailer, you are consistent with what you're selling. And I don't mean that, if you're selling greeting cards, they all have to be the same type of greeting cards. Like you can have slightly different styles, but I have other videos about greeting card strategies, about different categories of greeting card you want to start with as your starter set, so that there's a higher chance of stores giving you a chance. And if you do sell two distinctly different things, another strategy is to research into the store. Sometimes certain gift stores will sell more greeting cards. Other gift stores may have complementary products that you think like your candles or jewelry might complement more. So you can have a different selling strategy to store one from store two if you happen to work on different medium. Because that when you're talking to one retailer, it's important that you are a little more disciplined with how you present yourself so that they will take you seriously. So after you've considered those first two things I mentioned and you feel like you're ready, the third thing you want to do is to create a wholesale catalog. Again, don't be intimidated by the term wholesale catalog. It just really means a visual list of all the products you offer and the key information that the retailer would need to order from you. So if you currently sell online and you believe most of your offerings online are available for wholesale, of course, taking out any custom work, then at the very minimum, create a one-pager that includes all the wholesale related information. Art prints and greeting cards, then you want to list the wholesale price of your art prints and greeting cards. You want to list out their size, the quantity if you sell your cards in packs of 4, 6, or individual. For art prints, you definitely want to list the size and wholesale price and suggested retail price. I'll show you an example of how my line sheet looks like. This is an industry term for what you usually share with the retailer. And you also want to show if it's relevant, what materials you use for the products, and order information, so how to contact you to order. And lastly, this is a specific retail piece of info that you want to include, is your order minimum. So all orders are placed in bulk, and you want to make sure you are making a healthy profit from each order too. So list exactly the minimum order quantity is, or the amount. So if each order has to be at least $150, say so. Some brands also have a different requirement. So if you're a first opening order, you have $200 minimum. But if you're a repeat order, then you can have a $150. Just throwing out examples out there, right? Like you can set your own minimums. And in terms of making the actual catalog, if you want to go beyond the one-pager and actually create a catalog, no, you don't have to hire fancy press or printers to make these editorial style magazine-like catalogs for you. If you are sharing them digitally, the site issue is a great place to host your wholesale catalog for free. I think they'll allow you to host one for free. I don't know if that's still the case right now, but you can also make it on different programs. Since I worked in corporate for many, many years, I used PowerPoint for many, many years. That's what I used to create my line sheet. I know a lot of creatives use InDesign, Photoshop, Illustrator, or if you're not design savvy, you can use Canva too. That's a very user-friendly web tool to create your own catalog. But again, the information on there is more important than the look and feel of the catalog, because you just want something that the retailer can look through very easily. Before I wrap up, there are 2 more things I want to cover about wholesale, so stay with me. We're almost at the end. I know this is a dense video. The first one is about Faire Wholesale Marketplace. We made a video earlier this year that got a lot of views and a lot of questions. People are interested in Faire, and it's a great online marketplace that substitute or complement traditional wholesale trade shows so that you don't have to go to them to get discovered by retailers. But Faire has been around for a few years now, and it's also getting a little saturated, so not everyone can get in. From my understanding, if you only have an Etsy shop and you don't have any retail presence, they're not going to accept you. They usually prefer that you already have some retail presence and or that you have your own website selling your own branded products. So that's one. There is some filter there, a pre-qualifier before you can even get in Faire. And I think that's reasonable of them to ask that, to keep the quality high there. And the second thing is, if you can't get in Faire, you just have to do what all of us had to do before Faire and any of these online marketplaces were around. To get to the minimum requirement, that just means you having to find a few retailers on your own. How did I do that without going to trade shows? I emailed a ton of gift shops and small boutique stores across the country in my local state. You want to start local as much as possible, and even just starting with your town, city, or state, because the further you are, the harder it is to sell yourself, right? A lot of stores do like to support local makers and brands. So that's one. And 2, it means doing the difficult thing of possibly getting rejected. If you're emailing them, you don't hear back, you can follow up. There's a whole set of strategy that I can't cover in this video, but also sometimes means going to a local coffee shop that sells merch or another gift shop and try to talk to the owner. They are people too. I have a video with my good friend who's a coffee and retail store owner, and you can hear from the source on what she's looking for and how you can approach a potential retailer in your area. I said I was going to cover 2 things, but I think those are already the 2 things I was going to talk about that got rolled into one. So let's wrap up. There's so much more to cover in this topic, obviously. So thank you for watching till the end if I already have your attention. This video is meant to whet your appetite and hopefully motivate you to give Wholesale a try. Like I said, it's not meant to be easy. If it was easy, everyone would do it. And it's actually a good thing that it's not easy, because those with persistence and patience will win at the end. So let me know if this video is helpful and if you want to go even deeper on this topic or what other questions that you have, leave them in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and remember, you don't have to have everything figured out. You just have to take the next step. See you in the next video. Bye.